Welcome to the Revenue Marketing Report powered by Caliber Mind. Our goal on the RMR is to help marketers move from subject matter experts to strategic business partners. I'm your host, Camela Thompson, and today I'm thrilled to introduce Dee Acosta. There's always the topic of sales versus marketing that comes up whenever I talk to the experts in sales. And as Batman of sales, you have seen the tension that can happen between the two departments. So you had the excellent idea of the topic of setting boundaries with sales effectively. And I think that's an interesting angle to take.
Yeah. So sales, we're goldfish, right? And we see opportunities. That doesn't mean they're good opportunities, right? And often, and this is true for leadership down to, someone on the SDR floor, they'll want to do something, right? They'll want to do something, but sales does not realize the time and effort it takes to do a lot of these things, to change a field, to capture attendees at an event, stuff like that. It's just very, very difficult. And often it's a slippery slope. You ask for a little thing, you ask for a little bit more. Marketing operations is already taxed as it is. So being professional, being polite, being direct about what you cannot and cannot do, and often setting rules, right? So, hey, this is a good idea, bring it to your manager, and then let's discuss. Bring it to your manager first going forward, and we'll discuss. Or, even at a bigger company, finding the right channels to express those ideas, whatever that might be. So it is a challenge, right? And, we're all trying to navigate, everyone's trying to protect their position. Marketing operations is so busy digging through the data that they just don't have time to deal with sales quandaries. Typically. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't want to hear from sales and work with sales. And some of my best friends in marketing are stops. It's just setting those ground rules, respecting their time. And then the other thing that marketing ops people love is just reminding them how hard their job is. So if you go ahead and say, hey, I know you have a tough job, you have a lot going on, just want to plant a seed, I just want to have an idea that maybe we can talk about later, that goes a long way, because they do have a hard job. They're in demand and they're busy. And respecting that goes a long way. Conversely, they need to collaborate with sales. If marketing operations isn't talking to sales, they're not going to be successful at the job. Their company's not going to be successful.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a give and take there too, because sales' job is just as, if not more, stressful. Like, I can't imagine carrying a quota. And my husband did that for years. And every month, every quarter, we were just totally stressed out. And since then, he's moved to ops, which has given him a really unique perspective. And
absolutely,
it's no longer when an executive comes and says, I don't understand why they don't fill this out. It's just one more field. He can step back and say, actually, you have 20 validation rules on your opportunity and it's almost impossible to use. Let's go through actually using the opportunity so you can see that. I think looking at both sides of that coin and realizing that salespeople are stressed out, they're relying on sales to meet their quota. Of course, they're going to want things to make their life easier, and that's fair.
Yeah, and sales does have good ideas. They're the tip of the spear of business development, and the more aligned you can be, the more of a friendship you can develop there, the more the suggestions are taken seriously. Now, you also have to remember, ops is constrained, right? They're constrained by time, resources, headcount, but no company can grow fast if sales and marketing are at each other's heads. And I see a lot of great solutions that try to overcome this, a lot of ABM solutions. We talked about this, marketing staring at the same 15,000, whatever amount of accounts, sales is staring at the same 100 accounts. It's challenging to remember the scope of that, how much knowledge we have just by doing that can't be replicated via data or analytics or whatever it might be.
So I'm totally going to put myself in this bucket. A lot of operations people, and I was talking to an ops person about this morning, a lot of us are introverted. And it's not as natural for us to establish relationships as it is for sales. And I think it's really critical for people in operations to understand that They need to take the time to
Mm-hmm.
form relationships. So one of the key things I like to hammer home is talk to people when there isn't a problem. Because
Yeah.
if you only go to people when there's a problem, they're going to literally cringe every time you walk around the corner. And they're not going to be as apt to listen to what you have to say and say yes when you need something. Because a lot of times in marketing ops, it really benefits us to be able to sit in and listen to a
Yeah.
call
Absolutely.
or hear the recordings, like get access to whatever we can get access
Yeah.
to improve our messaging. That's not going to happen if people, like, I think of Seinfeld,
Mm-hmm.
Newman. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
literally had somebody say that to me once, and it just shocked me into the realization that,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm only going to this person when there's an issue.
Yeah.
We need to step back and actually get to know each other as humans, so that every time I talk to you, you're not going to say no.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. For better or for worse, there's a lot of men in sales, and there can be, it's gotten better, but there can be a bro environment. And like you said, marketing ops tends to be, you know, a lot more diverse, a lot more introverted personalities. That sales group has to remember that and use that understanding to have that conversation, right? Use that understanding to ask about things that are important to them. Now, me personally, I'm not an athlete. I'm a weirdo. So always liked talking to marketing operations. And the added value is you learn about the business talking to marketing operations. You learn about, hey, this is really difficult. This is really easy, etc. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But yeah, great point. They have life events. How was the wedding? Like,
Mhm.
don't just slack them. Hey, I
Yeah.
need this. I want to do this. Ask them about their personal doings, and that'll go an extremely long way. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
great
think
point.
a lot of us are moving to remote in operations,
Yeah,
and that can be kind of limiting because one of the key ways I got stuff done was swinging by people's desks,
yes,
creating those
yeah,
relationships. And like one of the big things was just going and getting a cup of coffee and actually taking the time to look around and see who's there and starting a conversation with them instead of just marching back to my desk to get stuff done.
yeah,
So I think one of the points during our conversation before this call I really liked that you made was be careful who you complain to, and that both careers are super stressful. So if you
yeah,
can
yeah,
start a Slack channel around, I don't know, food, coffee, dogs,
yeah,
cats, whatever your thing is, and just have more conversations outside of your job, I think that's really beneficial.
yeah, yeah. And I'll add, like, the challenge with Slack is, so when we worked in the office, like, you would go over and say, okay, so and so's busy, right? They're busy, and you could knock and you could say, hey, is this a good time? Whereas now with digital, it just hits you, and that can be frustrating for a lot of people, right? Like, I'm always digital, so I'm always typing away. But conversely, some people aren't like that. Like, they're in heavy work. They're doing, marketing ops includes data, so they're doing a lot of data cleansing, data analysis, analytics, maybe even SQL, and that takes a lot of brain power.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to be cognizant of that. Asking us like, hey, do you have 5 minutes today? Something along those lines. It's
Mm-hmm.
a great idea. But yeah, it's a good point. I also want to go back to stressing that sales is looking at those 100 accounts daily. So, like, that's a lot of knowledge that you can get as a marketing officer. Say, hey, what are these accounts doing? What are they responding to? What's the conversations, or what's the email cadence, what's the email messaging. And it is becoming more aligned. More marketing ops is now in charge of sales ops. They're running outreach, or drift, or sales loft, of course. And that's a combo you have to have.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, and there's so much opportunity, like you said, to learn. So now that we have tools like Outreach, we can actually go through and see which salespeople are writing really effective emails and getting high open rates and click through rates. And at Caliber Mind, Slay, one of the guys here, he just has crazy engagement rates. So I actually leverage him a lot for our emails. And it's just great to have a second pair of eyes on stuff and to have him tell me when Camela, you're writing a novel. No one's going to read that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And our, the attention spans have changed a lot too. Like even the email form through Google is very different than Outlook, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
Outlook, you know, it looks different, it reads different, it's longer. Google's more like your personal mail, like, hey, what's up? So yeah, it is different. But at the same, look, make respect to how hard the work is. Make small
Yeah.
talk goes a long way. I've done things like buying people Amazon gift cards, like $10 to say, hey, you really saved me, like, and not everyone has to do that, but
It goes such a long way, though.
yeah. Or like, I love this company called Love Pop. They make pop-up cards, and like, I'll have my daughter and we'll sign them together, and we'll just say, hey, thanks for your help and making work easier, because this big deal came through. So
It makes a huge difference, though. Ops doesn't hear thank you very much.
no,
And
no.
we tend to be people pleasers. And just a simple thank you goes a really long way.
Well, and I don't think most people know what ops does, right?
No.
I think ops like sets up marketing automation, and like that's a very small piece of it. That's like, it's a hard piece, but that's like a very tiny piece of what goes on.
Yeah, I think the average enterprise marketing tech stack, just the marketing piece, they use 91 cloud applications.
Yeah.
It's not, like you said, there's a lot going on, but at the same time, it's a two-way street. And I think the more people tap into their empathy and look at each other as people and see that, like, you're stressed out about your quota, your family depends on you. Don't assume that if somebody's direct or snappish that it's about you. Usually they're just stressed out about something in general.
Yeah. Don't take anything personally.
Yeah. The Growth Operations Community is a professional network focused on helping organizations drive business growth. They inspire, lift, and share thought leadership, best practices, and learnings for a profession that is continually transforming and growing. Like those of us at the RMR, Growth Ops believes growth happens when marketing, sales, and customer success align to deliver an excellent customer experience. Visit thegrowthopscommunity.org today to join a community of collaborative professionals. Have you been burned by attribution? Are you tired of fighting with salespeople over target accounts and lead scores? We've all been there. And that's because traditional marketing analytics tools bolt onto your CRM and calculate attribution and engagement scores on the data as it is. And let's face it, most of the time, your CRM data is far from perfect. Caliber Mind is unique because it pulls data from all your sources, not just your CRM, into a data platform. Caliber Mind unifies your information, which means you can attribute dollars to website activity, standard Salesforce campaign activity, and more, without wasting time in spreadsheets. Ditch the spreadsheets and check out a new way to analyze revenue data with Caliber Mind at calibermind.com. So let's talk a little bit about the tactical, because you brought up some really good points earlier. So one of your points was sometimes systems can get really overcomplicated. And I see this a lot with clients who have a Salesforce org that they've had 5 years, 10 years even. Things kind of get out of control. What do you think is a good way for the two teams to collaborate to help mitigate some of that?
So that's a question I think about a lot. So it's getting better, but for a while, you had really good people selling to marketing ops teams, marketers that like the new shiny thing. And that created a lot of problems where you had expensive tech, 3-year contracts that weren't being leveraged. And that's a lot of money wasted. It's a lot more complexity. And then a lot of those tools, like careers are hurt because of those tools, because you spent on something and sales doesn't like it.
Yeah.
That is very, very difficult. So, marketing in general, when, unless it's a very specific tool like marketing automation, right? Or, event registration technology, the sales should be brought in at some point to say, hey, would this be helpful?
Hmm.
Sales loves to make product recommendations, but then it's also the keep it simple, stupid method. The KISS method. What is the end goal, right?
Hmm.
What is the end goal? And then from there, how can you achieve that goal as simply as possible? So I'll give you an example. There's a marketer I really trust, and they were talking about using one of these new, voice analyzing sales coaching solutions. And it's a great solution, but they wanted to use it to whenever a competitor's picked up, it's flagged and an email or swag goes out against the competitor. And I was like, why would you go through all that work when you can create a radio button that lists the
Yeah.
competitor? Or maybe they're using that competitor. They're not getting off that competitor. They're just not, right?
Yeah.
You have to co-sell, and that's incredibly important. So that keep it simple is incredibly important. Think about the goal. What's the simplest way to get there? And then when you do that, you have less technology debt, right?
Hmm.
Technology debt kills companies.
Yeah.
So if you could save yourself technology debt, that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and if you're not paying attention, every tool you buy usually creates custom fields in Salesforce, which creates custom fields in your marketing automation platform. And I was at an org where they had switched tools so many times, they maxed out
Mm-hmm.
on their lead custom fields, which is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
The bad thing there, one, it was page sprawl, right? So it was so hard for the sales team to find what they actually needed to know about the person. And two, you can't delete custom fields last time I checked out of Marketo. So the system had it got out of control. So sometimes it's just easier to keep things as minimalist as possible. And if ops, like the give and take, if ops can look at things from the perspective of being an advocate for the end users, whether that be sales, or field marketing, whatever, if they can look at it from that perspective and kind of be the gatekeeper of all the information that's asked of these people, I think that's a benefit. And I think a lot of these automation tools have really good intentions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The more passive you can make them, the better, I think, when it
Yeah.
comes to
Oh yeah.
enrichment. So, like, if you're not asking the salesperson for anything, it just does it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. The automation's there. The thing about automation, though, is that it does take work to automate, and it easily
Yeah.
breaks. We have to remember that. But yeah, I agree. Like, what's busy work, right? What
Yeah.
busy work could be easily automated? Like integration. Everyone's about integration now. How do you drive integration that's easy, right?
Yeah.
How do you not overthink that? That's an easy win when it comes to that. And you know, even getting sales to do work, like sales loves to complain about how busy they are. Sales isn't that busy, usually,
Well,
typically.
and
Like
just
we'll
think
do
like,
extra work.
well, and just think with that voice automation that you were talking about,
Yeah,
where every time tools like Sendosto, Postal IO, they allow you to allocate a budget for the sales team
yeah.
to send to people that they think. I mean, I think that's just a little bit more effective than making an assumption based on a word that's used out of context.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, some of those rely on AI, and you're like, look, I don't think this executive who makes a lot of money cares about a flower,
No.
or there's some great solutions out there but those solutions are coming more and more. The form email is, I don't want to say it's dying, but iOS 15 is going to allow tracking. It's so easy to block spam. There's so much email security that those sales ops tools are going to be more and more in the hands of marketing operations. So how do you streamline that? We're going to be working more together, like whether we like it or not. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
when cookies die and CCPA gets rolled out nationwide, it's going to be more and more collaboration needed there. Everyone's hiring SDRs. Why? Because that's the new tip of the spear in marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the phone works still, picking up
Yeah,
the phone.
usually.
Direct mail is actually pretty effective. Email
Yeah.
is less and less so. And we're having a harder time de-anonymizing traffic on our
Oh yeah.
website.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
strategic direct mail goes a long way.
Mhm.
Charitable gifts. Someone has a child and they're starting soccer, or they have a favorite sports team. Customized gifts. I bought gifts out of my own pocket for clients that I love. I
Mhm.
bought someone a bottle of tequila, and I Also bought him a 49ers shirt and a Mets hat because he was a Mets fan. And
Oh, that's a weird combo.
well, Brooklyn, grew up in Brooklyn, lived in San Jose. So
All right.
yeah,
That's awesome. So in terms of direct mail, a lot of people may balk because a lot of people are working from home now, but a lot of those tools allow people to anonymize their home address.
yes,
So you can say, hey, I'd like to send you this gift, and
yeah,
they can put in their address and say, don't expose it to the company, and problem solved, right?
yeah, 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 and that's a big challenge because people don't want to give up their address, right?
Yeah,
Even
and I
though
don't
our
blame
data's
them.
everywhere. Yeah, our data is everywhere, but they don't want to give. Who wants to give up their address? It's personal. So those
Yeah.
solutions allow that. I mean, there's ways to get around it too. People won't stop with gifts. They won't. They usually won't turn out a gift. But it
Yeah.
also depends on who you're working with or who who is the prospect. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
e-gift
love those.
cards too. I am guilty of not turning down meetings for free
Oh
coffee.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
The
and it's
Amazon card,
$5.
Amazon card, you're ready to go. You're
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, even a $5 gift card for Starbucks. I'm like, yep, I always drink coffee. So, yes, yes, please. I think one reason people can start getting excited about working together more is I could tell you from an ops perspective that salespeople make the best allies. They are the
yes,
most vocal about promoting you on LinkedIn.
yeah,
They're great about doing references, and they tend to, like, once you click with someone, they want to take you to the next company they go to, which is
yeah,
excellent.
yeah, and vice versa.
So
You know,
yeah, absolutely. I think if nothing else, look at it as broadening your network.
yeah, yeah. And I'll give you a great example of that. Sarah McNamara is well known. She
Hmm.
just kind of came out of nowhere, started doing her thing, was really passionate about marketing operations, and she is not, a lot of people try to sell to her, but she's not standoffish with them. She somehow builds strong relationships, and she's carried that into a big following, a big brand, a really cool job. And she's been fantastic as a friend to ask questions, right? To ask, what do you think about this? How does this work? How do we get this going together? And that's a great example of that because she could probably, every salesperson would want her on their marketing operations team. Like every salesperson
Hmm.
would say, this is the dream. So yeah, do that. And then, marketing operations, they have clout. There's only so many. They're purple unicorns, so that's a really good salesperson. People will listen without a
Yeah,
doubt. Yeah.
for sure.
I stand by that sales is looking at the same 100 accounts. And I think it's really imperative that sales, customer success, especially marketing ops, right? And marketing in general, really understand that and really try to, using that KISS method, distill that, Camela, into, you know, the best way to sell and support clients and that true customer experience, right? That true customer
Hmm.
experience, because that is what will lead to that. So you can spend, 100K a year on a really fancy tool. That's great. But you can also make 15 minutes to meet with some salespeople you respect and ask what this account is doing and what that account is doing. And I
Hmm.
know how busy marketing is. Like marketing has meetings to prep for meetings. It's crazy, right? I respect writing content. This is hard. Cleaning data is hard. Marketo Pardot rules, are, no offense to Pardot, but it's like, you're like, what are you doing here, guys? Nothing matches. You're the same company as Salesforce.
Yeah.
But making time to say, hey, in my case, Dee, let's have some coffee, that goes a long way. And then the other thing I'll share is marketing ops, sell yourself. Like, say, hey, can I send an email just to update you on what we're doing?
Hmm.
Like, there's an old study, and when they would change the lights in buildings when we were in offices, morale would go up, right? You
Hmm.
get a wall, morale goes up. Well, if you're doing something cool, marketing ops, let us know. Morale will go up. Like we'll
Heck
be
yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's nothing better than reminding people that you're there to help them and you've done something to do just that.
like let us know cool projects. Brag about them, share about them, get pumped because that gets us pumped. sales likes to be pumped. We like to be active.
Oh yeah, share
So,
wins, especially if you're doing some kind of ABM tactic.
yeah,
If
yeah,
if it's working, let everybody know so they can jump on the bandwagon.
absolutely, absolutely. And be nice, be kind. We're all, dealing with stuff at home. COVID has definitely hurled challenges to many families that we might not be aware of. So be kind, and that'll come in spades. I'm Dee Acosta. I'm active on LinkedIn. If you do see this, feel free to connect with me. But
Great.
great
Yeah, I was just going to ask where people can find you online. Perfect.
Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is definitely the best way. Dee Acosta. I have a professional subtitle, but I put Batman in it, like Batman for sales and marketing. So
I love that. Thank you so much. And for those of you looking for more great content like this, check out calibermind.com.
Caliber's the best.